I'm Paul Sheehan with GoldDerby, joined by Marcus Dixon, one of our editors, and we're really pleased to be talking to Evan Peters, who gives this remarkable performance in Mare of Easttown as Colin Zabel. And Evan, when I was watching it, I wondered what kind of parallels there were between Colin and Mare and Evan and Kate, you know, in terms of just the mentor relationship, the younger, older.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, you know, I was super excited to work with Kate on this thing. I'm such a huge fan of hers for forever. And I think you know, going into it, I really just, you know, how do I say it? I guess I just felt like I've always kind of been, you know, I'm still learning and figuring out my process and how I want to do it and what works and what doesn't work. And I think Colin is going through a lot of that. And I think that Kate, to me, I just wanted to show up and just watch her and just be like, how is she doing this? And how, because she's a brilliant actress, you know, so I wanted to soak up and take in as much as I could. And then obviously there's that admiration for her. And I think Colin is coming into it and he has severe imposter syndrome. So basically, he's trying to figure out the best way to do his job too. And I think when he sees Mare and sees how good she is, he really takes that in and admires her for that. And I think, you know, mixed up with Kate's obvious beauty, you know, it sort of becomes a wanting of more than just friends. So I think there's kind of a talent crush, and I think there's kind of, you know, an attraction there. And I think that, you know, her sort of not wanting him there sort of feeds into this interplay that I think is a little bit like, you know, two kids at school who really like each other and they're kind of being mean and kicking each other's shins a little bit because there's sort of that attraction there. So those were kind of the parallels that I wanted to incorporate into the performance.
And can you talk a little more about the imposter syndrome? Because the scene where you confessed to her about this previous case that you solved, you're under the bridge, and I think that was my favorite scene of yours. Nice. And then she kind of confesses something to you as well. And then you kiss her and then you say, you know, you don't know what I want. There were so many layers in that scene. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I guess, well, first of all, I was super nervous to shoot that scene. I was gonna have to kiss Kate Winslet, so I was like, oh my God, sweating profusely. But yeah, you know, I think there's a line in there where it's just like, he's always just wanted to be great. And I've always felt like I just always wanted to try to be great. And so there was a little bit of a parallel there. And I just feel like I always miss the mark a little bit. And, you know, you feel like a phony and a fake and like you're not doing it right and all these things. And then she says, you know, the thing about being great is that then you always have to be great. And I thought there was something, you know, I kind of took in with that, you know, it's kind of like, well, I guess that's true. I still want to be great, but, you know, it's sort of, you know, takes a little bit of the pressure off. But yeah, I think there's a real connection there. I think, and also, I mean, hers is just so much worse than Zabel's. So I think he feels a little bit better about himself, but yeah, I think he just wants to get to know her and like really and go on some dates with her and try it out and see what happens. And I think that's kind of what he means by that. You know, you don't really know what I want. I think he's willing to accept her, you know, warts and all, because I think he doesn't think he's perfect either. So, you know, it could be a great match. And I think he really just wants to try it out, despite all that stuff. Yeah.
But I think my understanding is, you know, you worked with Brad and the director to kind of tweak the character, because I don't know if his insecurity was part of the original script, right? Like I think the original take was he was going to come in and be much brasher and kind of want to own the room. And didn't you
Yeah.
bring in that insecurity, that awkwardness that I think makes the audience like you so much more?
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, that's good. Originally he was kind of a hotshot detective. There was one scene where I was actually working with a professional pool player to try to learn how to do these amazing trick shots. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do, you're going to have to CGI this. I don't know how we're going to be able to do this. And not to mention in the scene, I'm drunk. So I'm like, how am I doing all of this stuff? It's crazy. So, yeah, we kind of switched that up because I just felt like, first of all, I don't know. I didn't really feel like I would be cocky if I had this lie under my belt, if I had this big secret. I felt like I would be a little bit insecure, and the imposter syndrome, I think, works well with wanting to learn from Mare and seeing how good she is. And in a lot of scenes, actually, there were certain things that I was supposed to be doing, like specifically asking the priest for his phone number and looking at his phone, and I was sitting there, I was just like, God, this feels so like awkward. I feel like would I be doing, and I hadn't said anything. And then Kate walked up to me and she goes, hey, can I ask him for his cell phone? And I was like, take it, it's yours. It's so much better if Mare asked him for the phone. It makes sense. Then I can look at it and be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? I'm an idiot. And that just kind of like, we wanted him to be, I felt like at the end of the day because we knew he was going to get shot. So it was kind of like, well, what I care about this hotshot guy who was trying to be cocky and cover up this thing, or what I care about a guy who's trying to better himself and move forward past this thing that he did that he feels horrible about and is eating away at the insides. And I think, we decided on the latter. And we also, I was so nervous. I was so like fumbling and bumbling and tripping over things. I was like, I think we should put that in there, because I think it's like, it's really funny to me that she does not want him there. Like, I feel like every time she was just so annoyed that I was there. I was looking at Craig and I was like, this is absolutely hilarious that she doesn't want me here at all. And I'm just like trying to help out. So we kind of played up that a little bit and leaned into that. And, I'm like dropping pasta and tripping over things and all sorts of things that I thought would make him more likable and more, you really wanted to root for him, so that at the end of the day, when he does get shot, it's kind of like, it's just the shocking reality of death and sickness. It just comes out of left field, out of nowhere. And it's just horrendous. So,
right. When if you Google your character's name, the first thing that comes up is Colin Zabel really dead.
Really?
So yeah. So I talked to the editor who actually had edited Gus Van Sant's remake of Psycho, and I kind of feel like your character was kind of akin to Marion Crane in Psycho, Janet Leigh's, because nobody expects one of the stars to be killed and
Right.
sort of killed halfway through. So when you're
Right.
getting you get those scripts and you're reading, like, did you know before you opened page one that Colin wasn't going to make it, or?
No, I didn't. I knew it was only 5 episodes, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder what happens or where he goes. And as I was reading, my jaw dropped and hit the floor too. I was like, oh shit, okay. That changes things. That's interesting. It was so shocking, and I tried to figure out why. I was like, why are we putting that in there? And I think it was just the danger and the sort of maybe the death of morality. But maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know.
One scene I wanted to highlight was the scene in the 3rd episode where your character just is completely wasted at the bar, and his friends are like, come and play with us, and he wants to hang out with Kate Winslet. How challenging was that?
I said, obviously.
Yeah.
Pick Kate Winslet over your friends, I think.
How challenging or difficult is it to play a drunk character? I mean, is it easy?
It's hard. It is really hard. I've done a lot of research over the years. So that wasn't hard. I think we going into it, one of the first things Craig and I talked about was the level of drunkenness. And I think we kind of decided early that we wanted him to be shit canned, because it just, to me, it was always kind of like, he took this piece of evidence from this PI and sort of claimed it as his own. And I think he did it because he wanted the win so badly from, being at this place in his life where he thought he would be married with kids and in a house and all these things, and he's living with his mom, and his girlfriend has moved up, his ex-girlfriend, sorry, has moved on, and has kids and all sorts of things. So he's sort of stuck, and I think he takes it for the win. But it doesn't do what I think he planned it to do. And it just is just eating away at him and hurting him. So sorry, it's laundry day. And so I think he's drinking. We wanted it to be sort of shocking how drunk he was. It's like, what the hell? This guy is absolutely wasted. What's going on with him? That's interesting that he's so drunk, and with a coworker and hitting on her and all sorts of weird things that you don't sort of expect from this guy when you first meet him. So yeah, we sort of decided, let's make him really drunk, because I think that helps with the secret later on, and that he's trying to hide that and sort of bury that and sort of feel like he's, moved on from it. And again, that sort of plays into looking at Kate's character, Mare, and sort of going like, well, I sort of stole this piece of evidence, and that makes me feel like a phony and an imposter. But you, Mare, are really, really good at your job, and go on your instinct and your gut. And I think he really wants to learn from that and become a better detective and win this case and do it the right way. I think that's really sort of what he's trying to do, is to finish this case and solve it in a way that feels true and good to him, in his gut, and where he can go home at night and put his head on the pillow and feel good. So yeah, that was a very long answer to that question. But yeah,
I spoke last week to Julianne Nicholson, who said she has not watched the show at all except for that scene, and she was in such awe of your performance in it, because she acknowledged how tough it is to play a drunk scene. But you brought so much, you mentioned the research you've done over the years on that, but you did a ton of research on both the detective and then working, I guess, with the dialect coach on the accent. You just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Suzanne Solby, our dialect coach, was phenomenal. I mean, she was from Philly, and she worked with everybody on the show, and just nailed it. And she really, I loved working with her. I loved her as a person, and she found this guy, Steve Baylor, who had a great Philly accent. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little. It was kind of like right in the ballpark. And he, sorry, I'm going to the Dahmer now. It's just totally the wrong accent. But anyway, he has this recording, and it's like 20 minutes long, and he's talking about the Mumsy planet, and his kid Jack would just like to run through a wall and all this stuff. And I would just listen to it every morning, and I would feel really bad if I didn't, because I felt like I was going to screw it up, because it is one of the hardest, strangest accents and I didn't even know it existed, to be honest. I heard the Baltimore in Horror Story when Kathy Bates did that, but I never heard the Philly one. And so it was fascinating to me, and so weird, and like kind of Southern, but kind of New York, and just strange. So I wanted to listen to it every day, because I felt like by that time it would be in there. And then the pandemic hit. I thought, okay, well, now I have to listen to this for another 6 months while we're not shooting. I spaced it out to like a couple of times a week, but then when we started shooting in September, I was listening to it every day again. But yeah, that was kind of the accent thing. And of course, you're shooting in Philly, so everybody, not everybody, but most everybody has the accent. So there's this transpo guy who said, "Hey, yous, look out for that house." And I looked at Suzanne, we were walking, and literally like kind of talking with the dialect, and it was right there, right in front of us. And I was like, God, it's real. That O is a real thing, and it happens in Philly. It's just such a strange accent. And then for the detective stuff, we had a lovely woman named Christine Blaler, who's actually the woman that detective that Mare is sort of based off of. And I was emailing back and forth with her, and she recommended this book called Sex-Related Homicide and Death Investigation, which is basically a textbook on detectives and sex-related homicide and death. So it was really hard to read and difficult to look at the pictures and things you can't get out of your mind. But I wanted to do it because these are things that these detectives are dealing with on a daily basis. And I wanted to see how that would sort of affect me. And, you know, maybe it's another reason why Colin drinks so much, you know, to sort of squash that down a little bit. But it's really hard to look at the underbelly of the world on a daily basis. So I wanted to get into that and sort of, you know, it's a textbook, so it sort of shows you what, you know, you should be doing in a crime scene, what you're looking for, and writing things down, ballistics and all sorts of things that are way over my head. But I wanted to read it and see if I couldn't soak some of that up. And then I watched a lot of First 48, which is, you know, it's a little dramatized, but the thing that I got out of that and what I really liked watching out of that was that the detectives were trying to get the win. They were always working together to try to solve this case because they cared and because they wanted the win. And also the interview scenes and the questioning scenes, you know, you see them in movies a lot and TV a lot, but this was, you know, a sort of real, you could really see it happening. You know, they knew they were being recorded, but, you know, the camera is sort of hidden. It's more security footage. And you just got to see how they really question, and they sort of, you know, try to get close with them and buddy up with them, or, you know, play hard to get. You know, it's interesting to see it really happening. And I also noticed that they all have portfolios, which is something that I didn't always see a lot in detective shows. You know, usually they're walking around sort of remembering or maybe even recording on their phone, but I didn't always see them walking around with a giant portfolio. It's not a little memo thing you see in old detective movies. So I wanted to incorporate that too. And then and lastly, I did a little ride along in the Marple Township with Pete Baylor, who's actually the brother of Steve Baylor, the guy who was doing the dialect listening to. But that was in the Marple Township, which is sort of a very small town like Easttown is, and there's not much going on. And there basically consisted of a Dunkin' Donuts run, unlocking someone's car, a 16-year-old sideswiped a person's car that was parked on the side while driving with her mom, and then I think there was a lost Saint Bernard that we were sort of searching for a little bit. So it's just it was a nice reminder that this is a small town, and that, you know, this murder is sort of and the missing persons is sort of a massive thing, you know, within this community, and everybody's sort of looking at everybody because everybody knows everybody, and it's a huge event for this town. So it sort of raised the stakes a little bit, which I thought was really, really helpful, in especially in the interrogation and questioning scenes.
And you know your show's a hit when Saturday Night Live does an entire spoof sketch of your show, which they called Murder Dirter. This clip went viral everywhere. What was your reaction?
I haven't seen it.
You
yet.
have to.
I know I have to watch it. I know I need to do that. It's on my watch list.
And well, finishing up here, I know that you're going to be in American Horror Story. You're returning after taking last year off, and you can't talk about it. That's Ryan Murphy's rule. But I'm wondering if you can give us, you know, maybe 3 words to describe your character. What can fans look forward to?
3 words. Gosh. Fun, silly, scary. sort of the show in a nutshell. It's like sort of it's sort of fun and comedic and silly, and but it's also a little scary. And Finn's the lead in it, and Finn's great. So it was great working with Finn. Yeah.
And you also kind of went viral with your appearance on WandaVision too earlier this year, like you're in all these different shows. Marcus, I think Marcus is a huge Marvel fan. You had something you wanted to know about WandaVision, right?
How did that come about? And will we see you there's going to be a Scarlet Witch movie, I believe, with her. So.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything in the future. And even if I did, I couldn't say anything because the Disney ninjas would come and take me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I mean, Kevin Feige was, so they were like, my agents were like, Kevin Feige wants to have a meeting with you. And I was like, really? I was like freaking out, like, oh, that sounds okay, great. Yeah. Yes. Whatever he says, yes, I will do it. Absolutely. And then he pitched WandaVision, and like, you know, the sort of format of the show, how it's the 50s, the 60s, and it's like an ode to television because he grew up, or he loves television and he still watches all those old television shows. So I was like, just the format of it and the idea of it sounded incredible. And then he was like, well, we're going to bring you in and it's going to kind of be like you're Quicksilver, but you're not. And it's sort of this meta kind of strange thing. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds awesome. I'm super excited to do that. And again, it was another kind of shocking moment for the audience to sort of do that sort of switch. So yeah, I mean, I was super happy to be a part of that, and everybody was awesome working on that show. Everybody's so nice and so fun. So I had a blast doing it.
Well, and I think it's obvious how much you enjoyed yourself in Mare of Easttown, and we certainly enjoyed watching it. Listen, Evan, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got your Jeffrey Dahmer hair on, so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys talking to me.